WQEE 99.1 FM The Key, home of Southern sports and talk. Newman, Sharpsburg, Franklin.
The House of Light brings clarity to your soul, offering a safe space for healing through our compassionate practitioners, services, classes, and wisdom, plus the tools to support you in our retail space.
The views and opinions of this show and program are not the views and opinions of this station, its management, or its clientele. It's now time for the House of Light presents The Wisdom Cafe, each and every week at this time on 99.1 FM WQEE. Here's this week's special.
Me, April, your host. Today I'm joined by Sandra Lee. Sandra is an intuitive healer, life opportunity catalyst. She's contributed chapters to 3 best-selling books, The Energy Medicine Solution, Abundance by Design, Stop Overworking, Start Overflowing. She has 30 years of intuitive energetic service, 10 years of human design analysis. She does biofield tuning. She also does sessions on a variety of topics, including neuroplasticity, food and nutrient density, insulin resistance and inflammation, metabolic flexibility, sleep, you name it. She is also the designer of the Inner Gem Shine cards. Thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. I'm so happy to have you here. It's been a while since we connected. I know Sandra from the time that we worked on the book Stop Overworking and Start Overflowing, this one. We were both contributors to that book, and was really happy to get to know another 3-5 manifester and, learn about her story and how she came to human design. But we were talking a little bit about purpose earlier, and I wanted to hear kind of the story behind your recent realizations about that.
Before I get to that, I always love talking with you so much.
Me too.
And we've done a couple of interviews and it's just been magical. So thank you. It's wonderful to be on with you again.
It's a pleasure.
So understanding purpose is a really complex thing, but it's also very simple. And as human design specialists, you and I both know that blueprint of where the planets are at the time you're born says so much about your purpose.
Yes.
And it gives people like this aha moment when they realize, oh, this aspect of who I am that I just think is part of normal. Doesn't everybody do that? It's actually really unique and special.
Yes.
About me. And that's just one of the tremendous gifts that human design perspective provides for people. I also do biofield tuning using tuning forks and sound for healing and working with people's energy field. And I was doing biofield tuning one day, working with a hologram that represents the person I'm working with.
Right.
I just happen to be working with somebody on Zoom, so they're not with me here in person. And I started seeing the human design chart laid over the biofield. And I realized that I'm doing them together. There's a lot of different healing modalities, thousands and thousands of different healing modalities.
Right.
And ultimately, I believe they're all working with the same thing. They're all working with what's true about humanity, everybody, and different ways of doing that, different ways of focusing healing. So it's like, if you have this is my issue, this is the thing I'm struggling with, there's thousands of facets to it.
Right.
So many different facets to it. And if I look at it from a human design perspective, it can provide a tremendous amount of healing. But anytime I work on something from just one direction, the person, if they're stuck, they can kind of wiggle out of it.
Right.
If I do just counseling, the person can just kind of escape.
Right.
But when you approach it from many different directions, it's really hard for the part of me that resists to get away
Mm-hmm.
And so I like approaching things from different directions. So if I am helping someone heal from the perspective of human design,
Mm-hmm.
it's actually going to help their chakras.
Oh, wow.
And it's going to help their physical body. It's going to help all of the different aspects
Mm-hmm.
of who they are.
Right.
If I do something from biofield tuning, it's going to help someone's expression of their life and the things that they're struggling with that we look at through the human design chart.
Right.
So anytime I work on one of these things, I'm working on all of them.
Okay.
So I love doing human design and biofield tuning together.
Yes.
And seeing people's energetic purpose, as shown in their human design chart, in their energy field, their biofield.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the day that I started seeing the purpose in the biofield, there's a wonderful story. I was working on a coach of mine. This was on Zoom. And I started seeing like beams of love coming from her heart and going to her child. Beams of love coming from her heart and going to one of her clients.
Mm-hmm.
That's my purpose. So isn't that wonderful that we help people to do
I think
that?
that is wonderful. Would you say, so when we're talking about purpose, everybody's looking for, and we're getting just a tiny bit of feedback or like coming back from your mic there. I don't know if it's a sound thing, but I just want to let you know. But question is, this is what I think about, like when people come to me and ask about purpose, they're usually wondering about something like a job or something like very specific, when really probably what's important is to understand the underlying values and what is meaningful to them, and then the specifics come later. But I think what you're alluding to, or what I'm grasping, is that you're looking for an underlying value or theme in that person's, what's important to them, like what they're here for on a soul level, and that translates to everything else. Am I correct?
Absolutely. And that's, again, such value that we provide for people looking at their human design chart.
Okay.
Or for you, the gene keys as well, right?
Right.
You are looking at those foundational aspects of who they are in all aspects of their life.
Okay.
24/7.
Yes.
No matter what they are doing, they are contributing these gifts that are just like the basis of humanity.
Right. Right.
Love, helping people, having vision, starting things, finishing things, the sorts of energies that we talk to people about in the human design chart.
Right.
And so that's just the foundation of who you, April, are. It's the contribution you're making.
Right. Right.
And then I started seeing this purpose on beyond personal level, started seeing it on a universal evolutionary level. You want to hear the story about how that started happening?
Yes, please. Absolutely.
It kind of blew my mind, right?
Okay.
It's just like, you and I have talked about near-death experience and the sorts of guidance and message and wisdom that comes from that broader picture.
Yes.
So I started seeing people's purpose in that kind of broader perspective. I was taking a Universal White Time Gemstone Healing class from Bradford Tilden. It's wonderful. I love the gemstone healing, and Bradford's terrific. And he said, ask your guides. When you have a question, ask your guides. Don't ask me, the teacher. Ask your guides. And I hadn't been actually actively asking my guides for guidance. I'm always intuitive. I always receive input. And I just knew that I was guided, but I wasn't actually asking for guidance. And one day I was working with somebody, and my guides give me like specific words and language to use. And they were being kind of obnoxious and intrusive. They were like being very demanding, say this and use this language. And I said, telling me that I should be asking you, my guides? And they was like, yes. So I started doing that. I just like acknowledged, okay, I'm just going to ask. And then I started seeing the universal evolutionary perspective of people's purpose. So it's like, I'm not just making a difference in my life and my family's life and my community's life and, my client's life. There is a universal, like, big picture reason
Right.
for me to be here.
Yes.
And it just kind of shocked me a little bit that I was starting to see people or their struggles or their work or their projects from, this is serving the evolution of the universe.
Right.
It's like, wow.
That's mind-blowing.
Oh my goodness.
I get, when you speak about this, I think of like a beehive and how I don't know how they know it. I mean, but they just do. Like, everybody's got a particular role and they just live it out flawlessly. They work together to accomplish these great things. And I think that we all are like one collective consciousness, and no one is unnecessary. No, everybody's needed to fulfill the greater purpose. And sometimes that doesn't, from where we sit, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But like you said, from a broader perspective, it's really kind of perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just hard to see when you're in the muck,
We help people see that.
Yeah.
And I know, I've been doing human design now for 12 years. And I still get stuck. Stuff still comes up in life.
Right.
And I need somebody else to look at my chart and help me gain perspective.
Right.
Because I'm too close to myself and my stuff and even my chart to be able to see it, the darkness, whatever it is that's stuck. And that has to come up for me to say, oh, look at that. So that I am able to choose, how am I going to relate to this thing going on?
Right.
And then move forward.
Right.
Right now, everything is up in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of the darkness, everything that's stuck, everything that's been not working very well, that's been kind of hidden away. It's all
in our face.
In the global
face. Yeah.
And it's bringing up all of the individual people's stuff as well.
This is a very important point you're making about healing.
And it's giving us all opportunities to do our own individual healing. Because really, that's all I have any control over, right? That's the only thing I am able to impact, is what's going on over here. How am I responding to what's happening in my household, in my relationship? A lot of people come in and they have no idea about that perspective.
Right.
And giving them, it's like, oh, look at this.
Yes.
Enables them to start taking care of themselves better.
I notice with women in particular, and I don't know if you see this as well, that there is this shame around being selfish. If I say no to that, and instead I go and do this for myself, or perhaps I don't cook this night, or I get someone else to take, Johnny to practice, or, and the list goes on, right? Like for moms in particular, but just women in general, because I think there's a lot of conditioning around that. Like, it is somehow self-centered for me to stop and take care of myself or pay attention to my own emotions. And I think men too. I think men, it's different. They're taught it's weak to acknowledge or recognize that your emotions or what you're feeling, and to take time to tend to that. So we both kind of, whether you're male or female, we all have, whatever your gender is, we all have that struggle inside, that conditioning that says, this is selfish, this is self-centered, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, should being the word, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think of it all as a filtering and sorting process.
Mm.
Is this me or is this not me?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Does this fit with who I am or does it not fit with who I am?
Right.
And powerful, helping people understand from a chart perspective
mm-hmm.
how that operates, because it's all part of it. It's all in the chart.
Yes.
Okay? And also from the perspective of the digestive system in the body.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's all sorting.
Yes.
Is what's coming in something that I want to keep? Is this part of who I am? Is this part of what I want to do? Is this part of what I want to believe? Or is it not me? It's all sorting. Right.
Yes, and your definition or lack of definition in some cases plays a really big role with that. I think the most one of the most impactful things about learning about my design, and in particular my undefined solar plexus, was that's not my feelings. Those are not my emotions, because, when you hear emotional definition, you think, well, that's an emotional person. But oftentimes the most emotional person in the room is the person that's undefined in their solar plexus, because they're taking everybody else's emotions into their body. So that was powerful to me, to understand what I am and what I'm not, and to kind of wrap that in consciousness, because it doesn't mean that I'm not going to sometimes feel another's emotions, but I can differentiate at that point and say, okay, that's not mine. And a tendency, in my case, to want to people please so that they stop doing that. So I don't have to feel it. In all honesty, it's not my job to kink the hose and to stop them from feeling what they're feeling.
Such important perspective.
Yeah.
When talking with people about their human design perspective, mostly, I take that to what's the motivation?
Mm-hmm. Right.
When you are thinking about doing or saying something and it doesn't feel quite right,
mm-hmm.
what's the motivation?
Right.
For that undefined emotional solar plexus. Are you doing this to keep that person happy so they don't get upset?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's still an appropriate action.
Mm-hmm.
But to think about it, oh, here's this going on, I'm thinking about doing this, and this is what's motivating it,
mm-hmm.
and it still makes sense for me to do that.
Right.
As opposed to automatically running down a path.
Yeah.
And doing that conditioned automatic response.
Mm-hmm.
Again, one of the big gifts we give people by helping them understand their human design is to understand those drivers, those motivations.
Right.
So that me as the person receiving this insight is like, okay, so what's right for me in this moment?
Mm-hmm.
I understand what's motivating this behavior, this compulsion.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to do that
mm-hmm.
or not?
I love your objectivity around that, because there's, we can get into this tendency of bad or good and blaming. And, it's not about right versus wrong. It's about awareness. I'm really, for example, I'm very uncomfortable with this person. They're having an emotional meltdown right now. And I am feeling like I want to run. But what is the best choice, not just for myself, but for them in this moment? Maybe I can stay still and just hold space. Or maybe I do need to go off and be on my own for a little bit. As opposed to I am bad because I did this, or good because I did that, because it's not. It's kind of like, what is your bandwidth in this situation, and how can you take care of both primarily yourself, because you have to put on your own mask, right? We learned that from the airlines before you put it on somebody else. It's not necessarily a bad or good thing. It's just like, how can I handle this most skillfully?
And again, it's an awareness and sorting process. Right. What's me and what's not me? In the moment, what is the right, most balanced, supportive thing for me to do?
Yes.
Because sometimes I still have to make compromises.
Sure.
Sometimes I still have to do things that it's not really what I want, but I still need to do it. So it's like to have people step back, pull back from the automatic reaction, and think about what's motivating this behavior, and what do I want to do.
Yes. Yeah, I think one thing I've learned from my open spleen is that slow down, because that's what if it's reactive, it's very likely wrong. It's not going to work. It's not skillful. But if it's responsive and it comes from a place of, I've got to sit with this for a minute. What is the best way for me to handle this at this moment? And so it's a time thing. It's slowing down. A lot of us have, in our decision-making process, need to kind of slow down a little bit. Otherwise, we will react. So, yeah.
And, looking at healing, that's one of the biggest lessons that people get to learn.
Right.
Something happens, instead of reacting, it's like step back and pause and evaluate.
Right.
And it has people be less reactive, harder to upset, harder to knock off my perch.
Yeah, more stable.
Yes. And I have a name for that. And I call that being responsible for myself.
Yes. Yeah, taking responsibility involves being in that responsive space where you can evaluate and approach something with skill rather than panic or fear or reactivity. Yes. So powerful, Sandra. Yeah. So powerful.
And as we help people understand their blueprint, their design, such a powerful tool.
Oh, yeah.
To help me understand, this is why I have these compulsions. This is why I tend to react and respond this way.
Yes.
Given that that's what's being triggered, what do I want to do right now? Makes so much difference.
It's priceless. Like, really, and on a collective scale, the more we evolve into beings that are able to kind of slow their roll, and I think, we're moving in from a splenic awareness to an emotional awareness. That is the modus operandum, if we want to do this well, is to kind of slow down a little bit and feel into things as opposed to react. That's going to be very important in the coming days. And I think what you do, which I just greatly admire, is you bring this sense of clarity. That's huge. That's, when you were describing not being able to see clearly because of all of these, I don't know, what did you call them? They're kind of like blockages?
Balls of energy from the past.
Balls of energy from the past. Yeah. It impedes our abilities to see things clearly. And as those things are addressed and dealt with, then we can begin to have clarity, and we can get to that space to where maybe we re-traumatize ourselves a lot less by slowing down and getting perspective and, getting space when we need it, or whatever it is we need to do. We'll have self-awareness over what's correct for us. Yeah, I love it. I love the work you're doing. You also have, may I ask you about your card deck?
Sure.
Yeah, Inner Gem Shine deck. Very exciting. You just going to grab it real quick.
So, this is a deck of cards that I created to help people when they get stuck.
Oh, look at
that.
So
that they can move forward with what it is they want.
I love those.
And like everything, we teach what we most have to learn.
Yeah, I definitely know that.
Because I tend to get stuck.
I do too.
You know, something comes up, I know I need to do this, but, and so I created these cards, that there's body cards for issues going on with the body.
Wow.
There's chakra cards for issues going on with the energy system. And like we've been talking about, they all relate to what's going on in my life. And then there's these concept cards that have a whole variety of different aspects of life to bring in. And so, and I've got affirmations on the backs.
Oh, wow.
And I can do, you know, these readings. There's breathe to just like set the space.
Yeah.
There's water. We haven't talked about water. There's so much that I believe that is important about water.
Yes.
And then this first came to me when doing human design, when I am looking at somebody's chart and I tell them something about themselves. It's like, oh, you see me, right? They shine.
Oh, I love it.
You know, thinking about, you know, those pictures of Jesus and he's got the halo, just like shining.
Yes.
When I am seen and accepted for who I am, it's like there's that glow that happens when people have those aha moments.
Yes. Yes.
So, yeah, those are all these cards. Would you like to do, we can do a card available soon to talk about client attraction magnet.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, I've got a secret.
Nice.
That I
giving us a little heads up. That's awesome.
Yes.
Wonderful.
So I was just working on it yesterday, so it's going to be available soon. So that's going to be available from my website at miracleinspirations.com/subscribe.
Okay.
Not quite ready yet, but soon.
That's very exciting, Sandra. Well, she is amazing. I think life opportunity catalyst fits you quite well. And I'm so grateful that we got this opportunity to chat today. And to our audience, you know, please reach out. She's just has a wealth of knowledge, covering a vast variety of subjects. And, you know, she can probably help you in many areas of your life. So, Sandra, thank you so much for coming on today. And I will put all of the relevant information under this video and audio. You can find it on YouTube, Spotify, and my Substack. So thanks everybody for watching today. And thank you, Sandra, once again for coming. This was a pleasure and I enjoyed it immensely.
Thank you so much, April. So much fun.
You're welcome. We'll see you again soon. Let's do this again soon.
Yes.
Okay.
You've been listening to the House of Light presents The Wisdom Cafe on 99.1 FM WQEE. The House of Light, a wellness center at 29 Jackson Street here in Newnan, is a place for people to relax and find true healing. For additional information, 407-414-6711. Remember to tune in next week for another healing message from the House of Light presents The Wisdom Cafe right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.